Yes, owing to mishap in my own calendar, I wasn't able to be here on the one night that I ought to have been here, which was last night, so I apologise for that. But I thought I would talk just briefly, having missed everybody else's conversation about what the process of being translated was like, which I really am sad to have missed it. And you can all tell me that this was all said before, so I have said nothing new. As far as I'm aware, as Danny was telling me, no other writer who has been called in to be translated has decided to write a special story for the event, which I find bizarre. Because the moment that I heard I was going to be doing this, I immediately rubbed my hands together with glee and started to think about what I could produce that would be very difficult to translate. So do you start to feel sorry for my lovely Italian? Yeah, the rest of you are going, oh, this didn't happen to us. I mean, I have to say, there were some ideas that I rejected. I did think of doing a story based on an anagram, or a series of anagrams. Yeah, you see? You've got up easily. I could have done that. For a period of time, I thought that I could do some horrific thing like doing literal translations of Italian idioms and using them as phrases in my text, so that in the English text they would obviously be quite unusual phrases, but then if you were to try to translate them back into Italian, you would have to translate them as this idiom, which meant something completely different. But I didn't do that either. In fact, I wrote a story. I mean, I suppose I should say, I am a novelist, but in my other life, I am a games designer and a puzzle designer. So perhaps it was a mistake to ask me to do this. So I ended up writing a story which we're going to hear a bit of in Italian in a little while, but I wrote a story called 5 Voyages, which is 5 voyages, by ship, by caravan, by train, by car, but on foot. And I think when I was writing it, I was thinking that there were going to be 5 days. So I sort of had that in mind. But what have I done? I have made up words in it that I invented, which obviously then you'll have to invent a word to go in its place. It's a story that has a lot in it about language. It's in the second person. And the gender of that second person is concealed. And also at the point that the you takes a lover, that gender is also concealed. Which is quite tricky to do in English, but I think genuinely impossible to do in Italian.
BCLT, I apologise to the Italian group for having invited me. We could have asked.
So I had a good time writing it, and I imagined that it would be mostly that I would be able to get my group to therefore be sort of playing my game, that I have written a little game for them and they would be playing it. And what I didn't really anticipate was that it would have an effect on me too. So you see before you a celeriac. I had to go and find a picture of it on the internet. It's a celery root, but I thought, since there are probably many people here who are not native English speakers, possibly celeriac would be a bit difficult. I was fine the first couple of days. I was really enjoying myself. And then, on the second night, I woke at 3 o'clock in the morning, like this, from a terrible dream. I will tell you the dream that I dreamed. I dreamed that I was I was lost in the forest of stories. And at one point, I entered the translation chamber, where there was a person with a celeriac. What does a celeriac? What does this look like to you? It's a brain, right? This is my brain, and here is a celeriac in colour. And I dreamed that there was a person with a celeriac and one of those, you know those meat slicers they used to slice Parma ham with? Yeah, doing that to my brain. And as I say, I woke up in a terrible panic at 3 o'clock in the morning, feeling that something was being done to me. Actually, Susanna told me that Zhang Ling said that yesterday she felt that she was being cut up into pieces. And I think this is actually, you know, one is often impressed by one's subconscious, because I think of a celeriac as quite an English vegetable, and to put it on a Parma ham slicer seems like a very Italian thing to do. So it's sort of, there has been something about this process which has felt a bit like being dissected, that there are certain ambiguities that one can retain in English, like gender ambiguities actually, which in Italian, when one is converted to Italian, suddenly those ambiguities are have to be revealed, like maybe a geologist taking a slice through a piece of rock to see what is going on inside it. Suddenly you feel, yeah, revealed. And so there's something sort of threatening about it, really. And yet, it has also been incredibly delightful. And I have a piece of, this is not going to be another picture of a celeriac. This is John Donne, who took a rather opposite path in life to me and started out very, very irreligious and ended up a very religious man. And over the course of the week, I've had a piece of his writing going round and round in my head, which I wanted to read to you, and hopefully these rather strung out thoughts will make some sort of sense. This is from his sermon, which you probably, many of you will know a different part of it, which is so not to ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee, which is about the way that all human beings are connected. But this is one of his metaphors. And when he says she, he means the church. And when she buries a man, that action concerns me. For all mankind is of one author and is one volume. When one man dies, one chapter is not torn out of the book, but is translated into a richer language. And every chapter must be so translated. God's hand is in every translation, and his hand shall bind up all our scattered leaves again, for that library where every book shall lie open to one another. I love that so much. And it seems to me to be also about what this process has been. So there's been a process of somehow being sliced into leaves, maybe, into these very, very fine sections, every word looked at. But there's also something about that process of feeling that what we're trying to do is to bridge an unbridgeable gap between the minds of two people who, you know, there's that beautiful image of a library where each book shall lie open one to another. That in some sort of heavenly spiritual, if you believe in that stuff, or just some kind of mental way, we think that we understand there's a commonality between human beings and a way to understand each other. And yet the more we look at our language, the more obvious it is that we're divided by it as much as we are brought together. But that this work has seemed very intense in a way of people really trying to understand what you're saying, which is quite rare, I think. Maybe only in a psychotherapist's office does one have that experience of somebody trying that hard to understand what the images that you bring are actually saying. So it has been an absolute privilege and something which I do not have the language for. Something about that, about lying open one to the other. And thank you to Susanna and to my Italians, you have been amazing, and I love you all.